at the system level, we can strategize all we want, but if we don't have a solid team, plan how you want to show up as a leader and where you want to spend your time and how you're going to create that shared vision and North Star for your team. That would be my advice. Understanding your own personal triggers are incredibly important. Instead of working like a well-oiled collegiate rowing team, a competitive rowing team, we're like the state fair, right? We're just like in a little pond bumping into each other and trying to protect our own little island. Don't let your calendar own you. Don't let your calendar run you. You run your calendar.
Ready to shatter the status quo and unleash your leadership potential? Sick of the same old tired leadership advice? Well, get ready to disrupt your thinking and transform your leadership skills. Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast that's about to challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership. Join DJ as he dives into the trenches with industry trailblazers, exploring the real issues leaders face today. From innovative strategies to proven techniques, we'll uncover the secrets to taking your leadership from good to great. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to conquer new heights. Join the movement, and let's redefine leadership together. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Leadership Redefined.
Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast dedicated to exploring the essence of leadership. Here, we're all about connecting with visionary thinkers and trailblazers who have reshaped the landscape of leadership. In every episode is a new adventure where we walk side by side with leaders who have achieved remarkable success. We trace their journey from humble beginnings to leadership prominence, uncovering the challenges they faced and the wisdom they've collected along the way. In this episode, I am thrilled to feature the extraordinary Laurie Smith, CEO and executive coach at Laurie Leadership. Laurie is a powerhouse in the world of leadership, bringing over 25 years of unparalleled healthcare leadership experience, including leading at the C-suite level. See, Laurie has a deep understanding of leadership dynamics, and her transformative approach to coaching make her a leader you want to know. Today, Laurie will discuss the deep impact of coaching, sharing real-world examples of the issues her clients face and the remarkable results they achieve by using her as an executive coach. From overcoming significant challenges to reaching new heights in their careers, Laurie's insights are sure to inspire and equip you with the tools to elevate your own leadership journey. This conversation is set to be both enlightening and inspiring, packed with actionable steps to elevate your leadership game. So sit down with me as I talk candid with CEOs, entrepreneurs, community influencers, and so many more as they share their secrets, their stories, and their strategies to success. Sound Leadership with DJ promises to offer you enriching content tailored just for you. We want you to stay engaged by following us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn at Sound Leadership with DJ. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platform. That includes Apple Music, Alexa, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button. Now, it's time to embark on this journey of leadership, this journey of inspiration, this journey of empowerment, and this journey of transformation. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Welcome, Laurie. How are you doing today?
Hi, DJ. I'm doing great. It's always a great day when I get to have a conversation with you.
Hey, listen, I feel the same way. I said who you were, but the audience, the world, they don't know you like I know you. I know you as this leadership guru that travels across the world to inspire and educate leaders at various levels of their stages of leadership in their career, right? But that's how I know you. How do you describe yourself? Who is Laurie?
Oh my goodness. Who is Laurie? Well, I have had a long career in healthcare, but I think the most important part of who I am is my family. I've been married to my husband since we were 18 or 19 years old. Don't tell him that I can't remember exactly when, but we met in kindergarten. And so he's been my longtime life partner, and we have two great kiddos, so they're the largest part of my life. And healthcare has been another big part of my life. I've been in healthcare since I was 16 years old, over 30 years of experience. We won't talk about that. But started out as a CNA in a small hospital and just continued to progress through the system CNO level and have enjoyed my journey along the way. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That is amazing because, wow, me and my wife are high school sweethearts. We haven't been together that long. We just wrapped up celebrating our 14th year of marriage. So kudos to you for finding that lifelong partner and, really just moving it together and raising those kids. So kudos to you. I know that sometimes relationships can be challenging. And from a leadership perspective, right? Forming relationships, established relationships, and maintaining those relationships can be challenging. How do you help new leaders, or how do you help the leaders that you serve establish relationships so they can have lifelong viability partners?
Oh, that is such a great question, TJ. And I actually was just having this conversation with a client yesterday. We just wrapped up an engagement for a long coaching agreement, a coaching contract together, a partnership. And one of the goals for this person was to develop stronger interpersonal relationships. And they can be more challenging than you give them credit for. The bonus, as you mentioned, with that coaching piece of it is it's not just the professional side of things. Those skills that we learn through leadership development translate into our personal life. They really do translate into how we have those interpersonal relationships with our life partners, our children, how we manage ourselves. Your inner game runs your outer game. And when you learn how to regulate that and understand that, then you're a much stronger leader and a better friend, better wife, better mother, whatever it might be.
I love that. Talk to me more about your inner game running your outer game, because I think that might have just flew over some people's heads. That it sounds like you have to know yourself in order to be able to know other people. Is that what you're saying, or maybe I'm misconstruing that?
No, you are spot on, DJ. And that saying really comes from the leadership circle, which is a qualitative and quantitative assessment that I use as we're working together. We gather that data initially to find out where is the best use of our time as far as increasing leadership effectiveness and business performance. So we're not just flying by the seat of our pants, we're using data to understand where to go. And the first place we start is with ourselves. How do I impact myself? How do I impact others? What is it that I need to know from a self-awareness standpoint to make me a better leader? And what are my blind spots? What do I are the things that are uncovered during coaching? That's where the gold is when you discover these things that you didn't even know were getting in your way.
A couple of years ago, this is during COVID, I did a 360 assessment. I made it myself and I did it myself because I wanted to know my blind spots. And I didn't want to hear from people who were yes men or yes women, as they say, right? I wanted to hear it. So I sent it to people who had done me wrong, I had done wrong, or perceived that they, whatever the case. And it was very informational. Some things I knew about, but there were some things that I didn't know. It was some things I didn't know because they were my blind spots. So how do you help leaders navigate and find their blind spot? You talked about that circle, but how do you even address that with them? Because a lot of times we don't self-reflect well, and we don't sometimes take constructive criticism readily. So how do you help them navigate that?
Well, it can be challenging. What I know about people in healthcare is they don't show up every day to do a bad job. They show up because they care and they want to do the right thing. So hearing that we have areas that might be impeding ourselves or our teams, it hurts a little bit. It can be a little challenging. It can be a little hard. And I, as a coach, am there to help guide someone through discovering those things. Usually through the use of really powerful questions, getting people to create those insights and make the connections on their own is where the strength in learning comes from. We know, even through the use of functional MRIs now, it's amazing what technology can tell us, that rote memorization does not last as long for learning as when you create those insights on your own. So when you connect the dots on your own, you're more likely to be able to apply that information to challenging situations and future hardships. That's the beauty of coaching. It's not a workshop. It's not a scripted manual. It is truly a partnership that is tailored for your needs. And that's why such rich information and growth comes from those unique situations.
You started using the word coaching, and it's very interesting because when I talk to people, it's no secret I'm an executive coach as well. I'm definitely not up to Laurie's level. I'm not doing, seminars with 5 to hundreds to 1,000 people. If you haven't checked her out, check her out. But it's interesting when I talk to people. Some people are against coaching, and I have to remind them, the greats, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Simone Biles, these people that are in the Olympics, they have coaches. None of them are sitting here saying they can do it by themselves. So you're an executive coach. How did you get into executive coaching? It's my first question, but then I want you to move into after that. What are the benefits of executive coaching for leaders?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, healthcare is a little behind the curve when it comes to utilizing executive coaching. Other industries like finance and energy have been utilizing executive coaching for decades to a much deeper degree than healthcare has. We're finally catching on to this. I became interested in coaching when I myself had an executive coach for about 2 years. And we have a negative connotation for coaching a lot of times. We attach that to discipline. And true executive coaching, it's not discipline, it's development. And I was fortunate enough as the system CNO to have this coach partnering with me through some really challenging situations. And the impact that she had for me in making me a better leader, a stronger leader, a more empathetic leader, a leader who really leads with curiosity versus judgment and trying to fix things. It was pretty powerful. And I wanted to find a way to help my team the way that she helped me. So I went on the journey to become a certified executive coach through the Hudson Institute. And they're really one of the gold standards for coaching certification and training. And I later went through to become certified through the International Coaching Federation. And as I started working with my team using some of these techniques, I noticed the impact that it was having for them. And we were working with a team over in Germany at the time who was having some leadership challenges. And I thought, well, let's try some of these techniques with this team and see, does this translate across the ocean with different cultures and some different barriers than what we're accustomed to. But when we use that, we noticed that they really do translate pretty well. And the impact that it had for that team was absolutely amazing, so fulfilling to me. We worked with their CEO and their CNO. We worked with their senior leadership team, some of their managers, and really helped to tighten the communication within the team and increase their engagement, reduce their turnover, and they're getting ready to apply for magnet designation, which is incredible. Yeah. Established a shared governance process, established quality metrics, and started monitoring their indicators, and now fully qualified to apply for magnet, which is a pretty incredible thing.
That's amazing. And it's a testament to what coaching can do for a leader. You're talking about leadership strategies that transcends across a pond, across oceans. And it's amazing that you were able to use something that you learned and teach it to someone in a different country, right? And that's just how leadership is, right? Leadership knows no bounds, right? A great leader can lead and get people to follow them. And I think that as leaders, to your point, we have to self-reflect. So you had a coach who you were CNO, a chief nursing officer, and you had a coach. So you
I
were
still
able
have
to
a coach today, DJ. I just met with her today.
Wow, that is amazing. So, what from that perspective, what are some key components that you look for in a leader, right? You're a leadership coach, you train people to be leaders, but what are key components that Laurie looks for in a leader?
Ooh, what are key components that I look for in a leader? I want someone who is open, someone who doesn't jump to judgment, but comes from a place more of curiosity and is humble. Someone who is truly looking to be a partner with their team, and someone who's looking to lead from behind rather than drag the team along with them. Because if you're dragging people along, they're not really following. They're not really following you. You can lead from behind and help to guide your team. And I would say those are the top things that I look for in a leader.
I have a picture, and I haven't released it yet, but I'll talk about it. And it's a picture of me, my now 7-year-old daughter, and my wife, and us. We're climbing up a mountain here in Hawaii. And I took the picture strategically, and it was already a caption I had, but I'll give you credit for it. And it was essentially leading from behind, right? I let them go first so I can watch. So if they fall back off these rocks, we're climbing up the side of the mountain, I can catch them. So although I'm usually the dad that's out front, I was leading from behind, helping them navigate and climb up this mountain. And I think that's important to note, because a lot of people think leaders are just in the front, but you talk about leading from behind. Hey, did you hit that like button yet? That subscribe button yet? Well, if you didn't hit it, that's how I get views. I need the views. Sound Leadership with DJ invites you to like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of every single episode that we host here on Sound Leadership with DJ. Have you done it yet? All right, now back to this episode. Give me a little bit more as to what is leading from behind.
Well, it certainly is not micromanaging. It's trusting in your team, who are the subject matter experts. And particularly as you continue to progress in your career, the farther you get away from the elbow of the work, the more you need to depend and rely upon the subject matter experts, because you're not going to be the expert in all things.
Yes.
You don't have to be. You've got a strong team that you've surrounded yourself with. Lean on them, value what they have to contribute, and trust. This is another conversation I was having with a client this morning, actually, about the power of the people at your table and who you surround yourself with.
That is amazing, because I don't think that people understand that you call it the table. I'm going to say your environment. Your environment can dictate a lot about how you grow, how you act, how you react. And what's interesting is, as leaders, we have to realize that we are in charge of the environment. I've worked with so many leaders, and they say, oh, we have a poor culture. And I say, well, aren't you a part of that culture? You don't get to just say the nursing team has a poor culture here because you're a healthcare executive. You don't get to say that. What are the issues and their concerns, and are you meeting them at the table, or are you placing the nurses on top of the table and telling them what they're going to do? Because we should be having strategic partnerships. It's really a partnership, and I think that's where people go wrong when they think about leadership. I've met them. I'm sure you've met them. People think leadership is dictatorship, and it's not. So how do you help that leader who, we've had them, I'm a coach, you're a coach, you help that leader that thinks the team is not doing what I tell them to do. I want to fire everybody. How do you help them see that leadership is not a dictatorship?
It begins with that self-awareness, right? That self-regulation. Oftentimes when leaders are responding like that, our initial reaction is, wow, they're a really terrible leader, or they're a terrible teammate, or whatever it might be. But if you start to dig down into the why of that response, it's usually coming from fear or anxiety. They're worried about something. They're not doing a good job. They're not taking care of their team. They're not taking care of their patients, whatever it might be. There's usually something deeper there. And part of having the right people at the table, you can look at this in a different way. Internally, who's at the head of your table? Is it anger? Is it anxiety? Is it curiosity? Is it judgment? Is it coming from a sense of partnership? Who's at the head of your boardroom table inside? Because that's who's running the show. And if it's not the right person at the head of your table internally, you're the only one that can do anything about that. So dig deep.
Wow.
Look inside and figure out who you want leading your table.
And you said it, and I'm going to say it again, right? It's called self-awareness, and it's being able to self-reflect. Because if you get in the mirror every day and look at the person and you wouldn't work for that leader, then you need to change your tactics. You need to be the leader that you will work for. And for some that may go over, but really you need to be the leader that you will work for. I go back to, once again, I went to organizations and they say that the culture is just bad. And as leaders, we're tasked with being change agents, and we have to bring people along for the ride and for the journey. We have to gain their buy-in. And I think that some people, once again, they struggle with that. And they struggle with that because they don't know how to get buy-in. They don't know how to lead. I'm a nurse. You're a nurse. How many times have you seen leaders promoted to positions because nobody else applied for it, or it's their friend gave them the job, right? So when that happens, the team sees that, and that kind of, distracts and takes away from the morale. It doesn't really help the culture. So as a leader, once again, we have to lead by example. We should always be leading by example. If we're promoting people, at least in my opinion, we should be promoting people who have the skill set, not just because it's who they know. I don't know if you have a different take on that.
No, I think you're spot on with that, DJ. And one of the pieces when we think about change leadership is the difference between ownership and buy-in. Buy-in is, I have this idea, we need to do this. Here are all of the wonderful reasons why we should do this. And people say, yeah, that does sound like a good idea. Okay, well, let's go do that. And the issue is they haven't been a part of designing the process. And they might have buy-in, but they don't have ownership. If they have ownership, they're a part of creating the plan and designing the process with you. They have some skin in the game. If this succeeds, it's because they helped it succeed. If it fails, then how do we figure this out together and navigate moving forward? If it's buy-in, it's much easier to say, well, Laurie sold us on that one and we didn't think it was right, but we did it anyway. She's the leader, so we went ahead and did it. That's why professional governance and ownership are so important, not only to pulling in that subject matter expertise, but for that sense of belonging, that sense of fairness, that sense of feeling valued, having some certainty as to what's going to happen in the future. I used to tell my teams, the only thing I'm going to guarantee you during this big change, there's only one. There's only one guarantee I'm going to give you, and it's that something won't go the way that we want it to. Somewhere we're going to have a misstep. And guess what? That's okay. We're going to figure it out together. Not a single one of us has to shoulder that burden alone. We're in this together.
What you just highlighted is another thing that I focus on as a coach, as a leader, and that's the fluidness of communication, being open and honest with your team. And I think that leaders sometimes do not understand the power of communication. My wife always tells me, I'm learning myself, right? She always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. My wife tells me that all the time. And it's been an interesting journey, especially having a kid and trying to navigate that, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say. But I say that because I had to learn that it's in my hand movements, it's how my face look, it's the nonverbal communication thing. So as you just said, right, you're sitting at the head of the table saying, I can guarantee you that something's going wrong. but how they receive that message, if you're smiling versus if you're frowning, is going to be two different ways. So,
oh, yes, absolutely, DJ. The majority of our communication is nonverbal.
yes. So talk to me about the importance of understanding your communication, the way that you communicate and how it impacts outcomes and how it impacts how your message is received.
Oh, it's huge. And I think one of the easiest trip ups as a leader when it comes to communication is feeling like we have to have all of the answers and feeling like we've got to fix everything. One of the quickest ways to gain trust and respect is to say, I don't know, but here's what I do know. Or I made a mistake and I own it. And here's the plan moving forward. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have the perfect communication for everything, the perfect answer for everything. We need to show up and be willing to have a little bit of humility and vulnerability, because that is part of what helps to create that psychological safety as a leader when it comes to communication. It's not being the perfect leader. It's being a human being. There's no such thing as a perfect leader.
I love it because it's open and it's honest. No one is perfect. And as leaders, we have to remember that our staff are not perfect. So things will go wrong. And how we react to it, communication, once again, is going to dictate that culture, as we've talked about. And how we react to it, as you've talked about, is driven by who's at the head of our table internally. So I love your points in this conversation, in this podcast. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the emerging leaders, the leaders who are just getting into leadership, and talk to you about how they can be successful in their role. Because a lot of times, I remember me, I was 19. They gave me a whistle and a flashlight and said, "You're a leader now."
Yeah. It feels like that sometimes in healthcare.
And my references to leaders at the time, at the age of 19, was like the Dead Off Family Guy, King of the Hill. That was my reference as a leader. So I was mimicking what I saw from other people, and I would take from here or there. And for some that helped, but I feel like I wasn't as successful as I should have been because I was just given a flashlight and a whistle as a leader. How can we prevent that, and what should new leaders do to become better leaders?
Ooh, there's a lot to unpack there, and it's probably one of the most challenging times ever to come into healthcare as an emerging leader right now. So the more that we can support our emerging leaders, the more successful our teams and our organization are going to be. At the system level, we can strategize all we want. We can roll out all of the operational plans that we want. But if we don't have a solid team at the emerging leader level, in those manager positions, in some of the director positions, we are not going to have the success that we need to have. Those roles are so incredibly pivotal. They're far more important than any other role in the organization, one might be able to argue. And this is part of what drove me to shift my career and come into the coaching space in healthcare, because we have a huge gap here. What I love about coaching teams is at the end of that first day, they look around and they say, wow, I learned a lot about leadership, but one of the most valuable things I learned, other people are struggling with the same thing that I am. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. We're all in this together, right? There are other people that feel like they don't know what they're doing either. There are other people that feel like they're the only ones that can't fix access or length of stay or CAUTIs or CLABSIs or whatever. The list is so incredibly long. But the fact is, many people are struggling with the same thing. And when you get teams in the same room, the magic is that they start to open up, increase that psychological safety and vulnerability, and they start coaching each other, which is the great thing, right? You want to hire a coach that comes in and leaves things with a sustainability plan. They don't need you anymore, right? Your job is to coach yourself out of a job at the end of the day so that they're maintaining that work together. And that's where some of those insights really start to happen. You You have a hard time getting that from conferences or workshops. That work over the course of 6 months or 12 months is really where that digging deep as a solidified team together shifts things culturally.
You know what you just said, and I'm loving this podcast because it's all relatable. By the time they get done, right, they should be coaching each other and saying, I'm not the only one having a problem. What you just did is help them with communication, right? They not effectively opening up and communicating with each other, not able to verbally express that, hey, I'm having a problem or this is what's going on. And unfortunately, I see that across all fields, not just healthcare, where we're not open and I don't want to say open and honest, but we're not, we're struggling and we think it's just us. And it's never just us. It's never just me going through something. It's my coworker who's also running a department who has the same issues with whatever the case. And it's just us, needing to talk. But as you mentioned, right, it's not as easy. It takes a coach, somebody who's skilled at bringing teams together and getting them to work in harmony, because so many teams are working in silos. We're a team under one building, right? We all work in this hospital, but every department is siloed. And it's amazing what coaching and mentorship and guidance can do. And I think it's important, and I'm sure you'll echo, I think it's important for leaders to not feel so prideful that they don't seek the help. I know when I've reached out to leaders and said, hey, I can help you fix the issue, I have it under control, but they're losing their magnet status or they're being cited or whatever the case. And it's like, well, doesn't appear you do, but I'm going to step back and let it happen. So have you experienced that where you're reaching out to leaders or you're trying to help leaders and they're resistant to your approach and your skill set?
Not all teams, but some, and those are the most fun to work with sometimes is cracking through that shell and that armor and those self-protective strategies. And genuinely, the majority of the time, it's coming from a good place. It's just peeling back some of those layers to really understand it and be able to get to the root cause of the problem. And talking about understanding that self-awareness, understanding your own personal triggers are incredibly important. Instead of working like a well-oiled collegiate rowing team, a competitive rowing team, we're like bumper boats at the state fair, right? We're just like in a little pond bumping into each other and trying to protect our own little island. And that comes from not understanding what our part is in the bigger purpose of things. So getting outside of that is, honestly, it's the work of the leaders to create that North Star and that shared vision and understand that this is not about us. This is about our patients. Yes, we have to take care of our teams and our patients. We can't burn them out. Teams get frustrated when they feel like they're not taking good care of patients. If they don't have the resources or they feel like at the end of the day, they're going home and they did a bad job. That's where some of this moral injury and burnout comes from. If we have to create this shared vision and understand how we can overcome some of these challenges and barriers, and the list is long in healthcare, we've got to work together collaboratively, or we're going to continue to be on our own islands, which gets us nowhere.
And I know that your experience in from having your own executive coach and still currently keeping your own executive coach has led you to launch your own business. So tell us more about your business, what you do, and how people can reach you to connect and possibly lead their business, their leaders into the future.
You bet. Well, they can always reach out to me through our website, laurieleeleadership.com. My email is Laurie@laurieleeleadership.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I've got a newsletter that I put out every week. Costs you nothing. So there's some great leadership tips in there every week that you can subscribe to. We just launched that in January, and it has, I think, about 3,500 subscribers already. So that's a great place to get some information. I'm currently working with clients all across the board. I'm coaching a physician leader in Qatar right now, a team still in Germany from east to west coast of the US and north to south, from the C-suite to directors, managers. So coaching really is for everyone, and we all need it. When I'm coaching CEOs, guess what? They have some of the same concerns that you and I do. We're all humans trying to figure out how to navigate the complexities of healthcare right now.
I love it because, to your point, we all need it. And I go back to, even the president has advisors. He doesn't make decisions. He or she doesn't make decisions, right? In a barrel. They listen to their advisors, and that's what coaches can operate as. As we bring this to an end, and this is season 3 of Sound Leadership with DJ, one of the things we do is ask a question. And this is something new, so you haven't heard it, you haven't seen it because it hasn't been published yet. But here it is. You're a leader. You get to have dinner with 3 people of your choice and talk leadership. Who are they and why?
Ooh. Number 1 is my grandma. She's passed away, but she would be number 1. She's really where I learned my business acumen. I was born and raised on a ranch, and my sister and I were running the business side of things from the age of 14 in the summers. And so she really taught me a lot about leadership and navigating things in a big pond when you're a small fish. Number 2 would be Jane Goodall. And the reason I say that is she had a little controversy behind her. She was working to protect the gorillas and really coming head to head with some of the big oil companies. She started sitting at the table with them and having conversations. And there were a lot of groups that almost disowned her in many ways for doing that. They said, why are you having conversations with the enemy? And she said, because if I come at them guns blazing, they put the wall up and we have no conversations and I have no hope of making progress. If I come to the table with them, I might not get 100% of what I want, but guess what? I've created new sanctuaries. They've got better processes that are less harmful to the environment. So those lessons about coming from a place of curiosity rather than judgment and guns blazing and how do we figure this out and meet in the middle, Jane Goodall is a beautiful example of that.
And it can be any, right? They don't, you mentioned your grandma. It can be anyone. But who would be that person at that table to make it remarkable? And I've heard Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, the current and previous president. I've heard quite a few things as we've started to launch season 3 of Sound Leadership with DJ. So anyone that you can think of. So far you got your grandma, you have yourself, and was it Jane?
Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall.
And who's going to round out that 4th seat?
Who's going to round out that 4th seat? Hopefully it's not too cliche, but Mother Teresa had a way of bringing people together. How she did it, I don't know.
Love it.
I don't know, but she sure had a way of slicing through adversity and bringing people together. So she might round out my 3rd.
Well, you know what? But that's what leadership is, right? It's so I can't imagine what that table would be like. I would love to be a fly on the wall as you guys talk all things leadership. I mean, you think about that, right? That's why I asked this question here in season 3, because I never know what I'm going to get, and everybody's reason is bringing somebody to the table is for a different reason. So I thank you for sharing that with me, with the viewers and the listeners of Sound Leadership with DJ. As we draw this thing to a close, if we draw this podcast to a close, leave us with one bit of advice that every leader should know and understand as they continue their path in leadership.
Well, we definitely know that we take better care of others when we take care of ourselves. So that would be a part of it for sure. But don't let your calendar own you. Don't let your calendar run you. You run your calendar. You are a more strategic and impactful and intentional leader when you take control of your calendar. And it's so easy for us to get on the hamster wheel of just following that calendar. And at the end of the day, we spent our time on things that probably didn't have the impact we wanted it to and put things aside that probably needed to be addressed or needed our attention that would have had a greater impact. So putting aside that time to have heads up time to think strategically and plan how you want to show up as a leader and where you want to spend your time and how you're going to create that shared vision and North Star for your team. That would be my advice.
Amazing bit of advice. And I think that's a great way to end this podcast. Take time for yourself. One of the things I've done, and I know you have as well, is you have a calendar so you can block off that me time for yourself, because you can't lead if you're not leading yourself. You can't serve if you're not taking care of yourself. So, Laurie, thank you so much for your time today, for this informative discussion, and for sharing your awesome table with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, DJ. It was an honor to be able to have the conversation with you, and many more to come, I'm sure.
Yes. And you know what? Thank you to the listeners, right? We are in season 3 of Sound Leadership with DJ. Today's episode has been a journey filled with insights, inspiration, and wisdom from Laurie. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, inspired action, or simply left you wanting more, we invite you to connect with us. Explore more of our work by following us on YouTube and LinkedIn at Sound Leadership with DJ, where the conversations continue. Don't let the journey stop there. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platforms. That includes Apple Music, Alexa, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button. Hey, as we part ways today, I want you to remember, leadership is a journey. It is not a destination. Laurie clearly outlines that, right? Leaders need to continue to grow. They need to continue to self-reflect, and they need to be able to effectively communicate. I want you to keep striving to learn and grow and never give up on your goals. We're honored to be a part of your leadership voyage and eagerly anticipate welcoming you back for more enriching dialogue and transformational insights with leaders such as Laurie. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and remember, within Sound Leadership with DJ, you're always in good company.
Thanks for tuning into Sound Leadership with DJ. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share your favorite takeaways with a friend or colleague. Leave a review and let us know what you think. And remember, leadership is not just a title, it's a choice. Choose to lead with purpose, passion, and impact. See you on the next episode.